Trump's election is going to be the biggest fuck you ever recorded in human history. It's not a proud day for this country. How could it be a proud day when a man who was not elected by the people becomes president of the United States? How does that happen? Listen, the man is a malignant narcissist, all right? That's a dangerous combination to have a narcissist like that who's elected to public office, because he's only thinking about himself. He's only thinking, how does this affect me?
Asterisk, this isn't just another political scandal. It's the unraveling of a myth America was sold for decades. Donald Trump didn't simply stumble into power. He orchestrated a takeover wrapped in gold-plated lies and primetime drama. He wasn't elected to serve the people. He was elected to serve himself. And now the cracks in that empire are finally too big to hide. Asterisk, for years, he sold America a fantasy of strength, success, and salvation. But behind the curtain, chaos, betrayal, and self-preservation at any cost. The truth isn't trickling out, it's flooding. And this time, the dam could break wide open. The question isn't if Trump's image will collapse. It's how much damage it will cause when it finally falls apart. Asterisk, let's not forget, Trump is one of the original architects of fake news in the modern political era. Back in the Obama years, he pushed the false claim that Barack Obama wasn't a U.S. citizen. He boasted about intelligence from a so-called reputable source, claimed to be hiring investigators, and fueled a conspiracy for personal gain. He is the godfather of this decade's fake news, yet now he dares to cry fake news. Whenever the truth catches up with him, asterisk, Trump's empire was built like a reality show, loud, flashy, scripted down to the last detail. But reality shows only work if the audience keeps believing in the star. Now the star is stumbling, the mask is slipping, and the country is seeing the raw footage for the first time. Asterisk, from backroom deals dripping with corruption to policies designed solely to benefit his inner circle. Trump's presidency wasn't governance, it was a con. And the con artist is running out of tricks. The tough-talking outsider, the so-called master negotiator, that image is collapsing under the weight of his own record. And when the cameras stop rolling, all that remains is the wreckage of trust. Asterisk, because when his actions start to harm fellow Americans, people will rise up. They won't take it, not from a man who never won the majority of this country's votes. And his thin skin could be his undoing. Asterisk, think about it. In sports, whoever has the most points wins. If Tottenham scores 2 goals and Chelsea scores 1, Tottenham wins. But imagine turning on the news and hearing, Chelsea won today 1 goal to Tottenham's 2, but what are you going to do about it? That makes no sense. Asterisk, Michael Moore once warned America, Trump's power doesn't come from his policies. It comes from his performance. He knows how to read a crowd, make them laugh, cheer, and chant his name. But that charisma is wearing thin, and what's underneath is frightening. This is a man who weaponized fake news, lied about opponents with a straight face, and exploited fears about immigrants, jobs, and safety just to score political points. Asterisk, Moore saw through it years ago, and now more Americans are seeing it too. When the slogans fade, reality sets in. Trump never had a plan. He only had a script. Asterisk, Donald Trump claims to believe in capitalism and free enterprise, the very systems that, in his hands, have been driven into the ground. His philosophy, do whatever you want, no matter who gets hurt, and he's not changing. He's a performance artist who knows how to deliver lines and sell an image. But the product was always hollow. Asterisk, what's worse than a corrupt politician? A corrupt politician who can make you laugh while he robs you blind. Trump isn't just a president, he's an entertainer treating the presidency like a primetime gig. He choreographs rallies like WWE matches, turns press briefings into punchlines, and spins national crises into branding opportunities. But every show has an ending, and the crowd is starting to boo. More understood this. Ridiculous Trump's kryptonite. He can silence reporters, intimidate rivals, even bully critics, but he can't control the laughter. And once the audience stops fearing the strong man and starts laughing at the fraud, the curtain begins to close. Meanwhile, while everyone's watching the spectacle, Trump's administration is quietly making moves that will damage the country for years, like the EPA decisions being made today that most Americans won't even realize until it's too late. His Interior Department sold off our land to people who should never have had it. His Agriculture Department, same story. In fact, you could go down the list of every cabinet department and find something shady happening every single day. But we've been so distracted by the big headlines threatening North Korea, refusing to acknowledge what really happened over the weekend, that we've missed the daily damage. Take this horror moment wherein and multiply it by 20, by 200. That's what's happening in every federal agency under his control, every single day. I hate to be the one to point it out, but it's the truth. The myth of Trump as the untouchable billionaire outsider is collapsing under the weight of his own failures, multiple bankruptcies, endless investigations, and a presidency riddled with resignations aren't signs of strength, they're proof of a man in over his head. Michael Moore didn't have to invent scandals, they were sitting in plain sight. Broken promises on health care, jobs, and infrastructure weren't mistakes. They were part of the show, and the show was always about him, never about the people who believed in him. Now, as the lies pile up and the walls close in, America faces a choice: keep clapping for the act, or walk out before the next scene turns deadly. Trump's supporters see that the elites who've ruined their lives hate him. Corporate America hates him. Wall Street hates him. The career politicians hate him. The media who once built him up now despise him. The enemy of my enemy, they say. But you and I know Trump. We've known him for decades. I've shared TV shows with him back in the 90s. This is a man who once supported Planned Parenthood, backed gay rights, and yes, was a blowhard who wanted his name on everything, but also put the Central Park ice rink back in business. He's not the man he's sold himself to be to his current base. So, could someone like me get behind him? No. His real problem will come when he tries to walk back all the crazy things he said. What happens to the people who voted for that crazy stuff? You think they'll just quietly abandon him? I hope we see the biggest landslide loss in history when the Democratic nominee beats Donald Trump. But here's what his campaign is banking on: even if he loses women, Hispanics, young people, and African Americans, he believes he can make it up with the white working class in regions like Appalachia, places he's touring right now. Especially given Hillary Clinton's past mistakes, Trump's rise wasn't a fluke. It was engineered, a toxic mix of celebrity culture, media obsession, and political fatigue. He mastered selling outrage instead of solutions, slogans instead of substance. But that magic act is wearing thin. Moore called it early. Trump was never a builder, only a manipulator. He didn't fix the system, he exploited it, feeding on people's desperation and distrust. His empire wasn't built on policies that helped working Americans, it was built on the illusion that he cared. Now, the cracks are showing, and with each scandal, the foundation weakens, the applause is fading. And for a man who feeds on attention, silence may be his loudest enemy. Asterisk, nothing he promised was true, but that didn't matter. He knew how to talk to the American public. He told them what they wanted to hear. In Wisconsin, the week before the election, he went from town to town saying, "I'm going to make you all rich." Asterisk, well, who doesn't want to hear that? It's like asking someone, "How do I look tonight?" and hearing, "Amazing." You don't know if it's true, but it makes you feel good. That's how he worked, because he was a TV star, already beloved in millions of American homes. Asterisk, do you realize in the first year of The Apprentice, Trump pulled over 40 million viewers in a single season? To put that in perspective, last week's top-rated show was America's Got Talent, and it had 13.1 million viewers. He had triple that audience. Asterisk, you might not have been one of them, but between the Hudson River and La Cienega Boulevard, there were millions who loved him because he kept it simple, stupid. Asterisk, and there's a reason Trump has always feared being mocked more than being opposed. Asterisk. Opposition can be attacked, silenced, or discredited, but laughter spreads like wildfire. Asterisk, more weaponized humor against Trump, showing the world that his tough guy persona collapses under ridicule. Late-night jokes, biting satire, and viral sketches cut deeper than any political attack for a man obsessed with image. Mockery is lethal. It strips away the myth of invincibility and exposes the small, insecure man underneath. Asterisk, now, the more Trump tries to project dominance, the more the punchlines write themselves. This isn't just comedy, it's cultural rebellion. And it's hitting Trump where he's weakest, his desperate need to be admired. Asterisk, Trump didn't just blur the line between politics and entertainment, he erased it completely. Campaign rallies became reality shows. Policy announcements became cliffhangers. Even national emergencies were treated like dramatic plot twists. Asterisk, but more warned that once governance becomes a performance, democracy becomes a prop. Facts become negotiable. Loyalty becomes transactional. National institutions turn into stage backdrops. Every crisis becomes an opportunity to dominate the headlines and keep the spotlight on himself. Asterisk, but the act has grown stale. The audience is exhausted, the plot is predictable, and the stakes are far too real. This is no longer harmless entertainment, it's a dangerous script, where the ending could be democracy itself, unless the viewers finally give up the fear he's been selling. Asterisk, fear of immigrants. Asterisk, fear of protesters. Asterisk, fear of losing American greatness. Asterisk, he kept the country in a constant state of conflict because chaos is a distraction. As Moore pointed out, when everyone's fighting, no one's asking real questions about policy or accountability. Asterisk, but fear is a short-term weapon. Eventually, people grow tired of being afraid. They notice the promises never materialize. The enemy changes with every news cycle, and the chaos only benefits one man. Trump thrived on division, but unity, even among those tired of his games, could be his downfall. The same fear he exploited could be the very thing that turns against him. Asterisk, the truth about Trump's so-called populism is simple. It was just a rebrand of the same swamp. He promised to drain. Tax cuts favored the wealthy. Environmental rollbacks helped corporations. Working-class Americans were left behind. Asterisk, Moore didn't have to fabricate outrage. He simply pointed out the facts. The billionaire in the hard hat wasn't building for you, he was building for himself. An outsider who promised to fight corruption surrounded himself with career politicians and lobbyists. This wasn't betrayal by accident, it was betrayal by design. Asterisk, now, with more people awake to the scam, the brand is collapsing. The man who claimed only I can fix it is facing the reality that this time, no one's buying the pitch, flirting with authoritarianism. He studied it, embraced it, and wore it like a badge of honor. He praised dictators, undermined NATO, and treated America's alliances like disposable playthings. Behind closed doors, he sought loyalty oaths not to the Constitution, but to himself. And when the pandemic struck, he saw not a crisis to be managed, but an opportunity to rewrite the narrative in his favor. Lives were lost while he pushed miracle cures and held rallies. His America First slogan masked an America Alone reality. Every step, every lie was another brick in the wall he built between truth and the people. And as the cracks in democracy widened, Trump smiled because chaos was always part of the plan. The illusion of strength was his favorite weapon. Trump convinced millions that bluster was power, cruelty was leadership, and corruption was patriotism. He called the press the enemy of the people, while feeding his followers a steady diet of misinformation. He turned fact-checkers into villains, scientists into traitors, and political opponents into targets. The institutions meant to protect America from tyranny bent under his weight, terrified of the tweets and tantrums that could ruin careers. Overnight, he didn't drain the swamp, he invited it to dinner and handed it the keys to the vault. This wasn't incompetence, it was strategy, and every headline, every scandal, was just another distraction while he tightened his grip. I believe there's a chance Trump could be convicted by the Senate. Strangely enough, I'm an optimist. Of the 53 Republicans, I believe 20 could possibly vote to remove him if testimony like John Bolton's reveals more than just the Ukrainian phone call. The question is whether it will be allowed. Trump knew fear was the most potent political currency, and he spent it lavishly. He painted immigrants as invaders, protesters as anarchists, and anyone questioning him as un-American. This wasn't politics, it was a cult of personality. His rallies weren't campaign events, they were loyalty tests, complete with enemies to boo and a leader to worship. He fed the fire of division until neighbors eyed each other with suspicion, and family dinners turned into battlegrounds. And when the nation needed healing, he offered gasoline. The more fractured America became, the more he could position himself as the only one who could fix it. But fixing it was never the goal, breaking it was. Donald Trump came to the Detroit Economic Club and told Ford executives, greater than if you close these factories in Detroit and build them in Mexico. I'm going to put a 35% tariff on those cars when you send them back, and nobody's going to buy them. No politician, Republican or Democrat, had ever said that to those executives. And it was music to the ears of people in Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, the Brexit states. It all came to a head on January 6th, the day that will live in infamy. This wasn't a protest gone wrong, it was the logical conclusion of years of lies and incitement. Trump lit the fuse, then stepped back to watch the explosion. The Capitol, the heart of American democracy, was overrun by his supporters, convinced they were patriots on a divine mission. Lawmakers fled for their lives as the world watched in horror, and still, Trump refused to call them off immediately. The message was clear. Democracy was negotiable, but his power was not. That day, the mask slipped completely. The world saw the man for who he truly was. Now, as investigations close and the walls tighten around him, Trump is playing his final card, convincing his followers that any attack on him is an attack on them. He paints prosecutors as political, Hitman, courts as corrupt, and democracy itself as the enemy. Asterisk, but here's the truth he fears most. This time, the consequences are real. The lies are unraveling faster than he can spin them. And if justice holds, if America truly wakes up, it won't just be the end of a political career. Asterisk, it will be the end of the illusion he built. Brick by brick, lie by lie. Asterisk, and for Trump, that will be the ultimate downfall.